Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why Bill Belichick isn't happy about what Robert Kraft just said.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why the Warriors' loss last night isn't as bad as you might think. Speak for yourself on a Wednesday. Starts right now.
I don't think it's a big deal at all. Warriors still winning that series. All right, welcome to the show. We're joined today by Super Bowl champ Cliff Avril and former NFL head coach Eric Mangini. Let's start in the NFL, which announced a major change to their national anthem policy that is meant to diffuse the controversy over the protests that have rocked the league the last two seasons. The new policy will allow players to stay in the locker room during the anthem, but requires those that go to the field to stand, and will include fines for teams whose players don't stand. Each team will also be able to develop their own policy, provided it is consistent with the principles of the league's policy. Roger Goodell addressed the new approach today.
Our objective as a league and to all 32 clubs, which was unanimous, is that we want people to be respectful to the national anthem. We want people to stand. That's all personnel, and make sure that they treat this moment in a respectful fashion. That's something that we think we owe. We've been very sensitive in making sure that we give players choices, but we do believe that moment is an important moment.
The NFLPA raised objections to the new policy almost immediately, saying, quote, the NFL chose not to consult the union. The vote by NFL club CEOs today contradicts the statements made to our player leadership by Commissioner Roger Goodell and the chairman of the NFL's Management Council, John Marr, about the principles, values, and patriotism of our league. Cowherd, what's your reaction to the new policy?
Well, it feels a lot like the NBA policy, which is, I've always thought it's very interesting. The media largely doesn't like powerful people. The media is fighting for the underclass, the oppressed, right? They're anti-corporate America. The NFL is the #1 TV show on 5 networks in America. It is the big and the powerful. And the media interprets this as bad NFL, because there's kind of a thing going on right now with the media. NFL bad, NBA good. The NBA's got mostly the same policy. You were not allowed in the NBA. The NBA doesn't allow you to kneel for an anthem. Fines, suspension. The NFL's saying, all right, listen, if you come out, we don't want you to kneel. It hurts business. To me, it feels a lot like the NBA, but I think the NFL will probably get clobbered for it.
Clearly, there's an attack on the NFL by the media, and they've baited a lot of players unwittingly into being a part of the attack on the NFL. And so, yeah, the NFL's treated unfairly. The NBA has basically had this policy for decades, and no one thinks that the NBA is oppressing their players. I don't really like the new direction. I wish they had just chosen, I thought they had 2 options. You know what? We're going to do the national anthem without the players, the way they do it in college football, the way we did it previously. Players will be in the locker room, we'll have the national anthem. That was one option.
That's a good idea.
The other option that I would have chosen is, okay, if you kneel, if you do any kind of protest, you don't play, period. And just leave it at that. That would have been one of the 2 options, either in the locker room, or if you want to kneel or protest, no problem. You just don't play.
By the way, for years and years, when I was a kid growing up, most of it, they didn't have the anthem. That's another thing that's lost. The NFL, and I've criticized the NFL before, these are billionaire owners. They all decided we want the anthem. Why? Because they were getting paid by the military. So my thing is, if you're getting, the NFL created some of this themselves.
Well, again, it goes a little deeper than just the small amount of money they get from the military to do this. This goes back to Pete Rozelle attaching football to patriotism, the military, and things like as a television strategy, as a way of attaching, for football to supplant baseball as the most powerful sport in football. And it's one of the main reasons why the NFL makes so much money and is able to play the players a lot better than they used to be able to.
Well, the NFL really had to make a move. One of the reasons I got criticized so much last year is there wasn't clear direction, one way or the other. And now they've given clear direction. If you do this, the club's going to get fined. You can potentially now get fined by the clubs. You have the right to stay in the locker room if you don't want to do that. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Is it a fine per player? So are there 10 fines if 10 fines kneel And then if it happens a second time, typically fines double and then double again. So they're going to have to work out that. And then with each team, you have the ability to give conduct detrimental fines to players for things like this. So it'll be really really interesting to see how harsh each team is with the fines they impose.
I find it interesting all around. One, I think when you said the NBA and the NFL, they kind of have the same rules. I think the NBA and the commissioner and those guys, they work with the players. They put this statement out, and they put this out, and obviously the NFLPA didn't know anything about it. Right. So that's a problem in itself. We're not discussing this as one. If we discuss this as one, I think we would have had a better solution. I think this whole, some guys stay in the locker room, some guys come out. It makes no sense to me. None of it makes any sense. And then how do you do the finding process? Is it individually based? The teams can find how much they want to find? Like, it makes no sense. And on top of that, I don't think as an organization you have the right, and again, my personal opinion, I was part of one of the guys that used to kneel as well. I don't think you have the right to tell me how or what I should do when the national anthem is playing, because there's a gazillion other people in the crowd that's talking, that's chanting, that's doing all these other things. We don't do that when we come into this building, whenever you clock in to work. So none of that stuff makes any sense.
Hold on, though. The people in the stands aren't getting paid.
Okay.
They're not making a dime. The NFL is paying the players a lot of money.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, Cliff, and I hear you, it's a television show. That's all the NFL.
It's entertainment.
No, it's just a television show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the NFL would virtually go away if TV went away. And so it's a television show. Mm-hmm. Television shows have scripts. There are things we can and can't do on this television show. It's almost any workplace.
But that's not scripted, though. Like a game, and because that's what everybody comes to see is entertainment. They come to see that. Right. I get that part. But at the end of the day, I have a platform. I have a platform, and I can use it for whichever way. If the NFL came together with the players, I think they wouldn't have this issue in the first place.
Listen, there's a talking point that is pervasive, that the NBA and the commissioner, they talk and they just get along and they hold hands and they pray together at night. The reality is David Stern instituted the rule that the NBA has about the national. He didn't consult with the players.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think they had the conversation, though?
No. Chris,
that's
Cliff,
my thing.
You've been playing football. I cover sports for a living. All the way back to when the NBA did this, when they ran Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf out of the league. I was alive and covering sports then. There was no consultation with the players. David Stern ruled with an iron fist. Pete Rozelle ruled with an iron fist. That's why these leagues are so successful and guys are making so much money. And again, this thing feels real good over social media, but it does not make economic sense for the athletes that are actually playing the game.
When you said I have a platform, let's say I was an actor.
Yes.
And I could say my platform, I'm a Broadway actor.
Yep.
Well, why shouldn't I kneel before the play? That's my platform.
It depends on what you believe.
Well, no, but it doesn't, because the audience is like, I paid $300 a ticket.
Yep.
I don't care about your politics. The owners are saying, this is our stadium, funded by us. We don't want your religious or political beliefs in that 3-hour window.
So why do we have players out there in the first place then? Because the NFL gets paid, correct?
Well, yeah, but they're jobs. I have this job. I can't kneel on the set. This is my platform. But in my platform, I can't kneel.
It's Rupert Murdoch's platform, but continue.
No,
seriously. And
but again,
Paul Allen's platform.
Players often think, okay, this is my window, to which I would argue, you have 6 days and 21 hours on the 7th day. Mm-hmm. You have shoe companies, you have charities, you have social media. Players didn't used to have social media. What owners are basically saying is, we'll support you 6 days and 21 hours.
But do they? But do they support you?
Malcolm Jenkins met with owners, and he feels like some progress was made.
Every 2 weeks, don't y'all get a check? That's the support that an owner...
Yeah, for the work that I put in on that football field.
Agreed. That's all the support they owe you.
Yeah, okay, I agree. So I'm entitled to do what I please before or after the game.
Well, my question, though, if they take the anthem away, then where do you kneel?
You just don't, I guess.
See, that's my point.
But you still have the conversation, though.
No. Conversation's fine.
Because that's the original, for me, and why I was a part of it, the original conversation, the original reason why I wanted it is to have the discussion. I felt like that was my platform to be able to make, because nobody's listening to me after the game. They're talking about the game. Nobody's listening until we do this, and then people start having the conversation.
Cliff, And the conversation that's going on, and I'm sorry, Eric, for not letting you get in here.
That's right.
But Cliff, the conversation is going on, just the reality, not what your desire or Kaepernick's desire is. The conversation that's been going on has been exactly the one we just had. There has not been any conversation about police brutality in this conversation. It's been about the national anthem. That's why some people, older people that are trying to like, hey man, don't mess up your money. And if you really want to have this conversation, there's a better way. Because this conversation
what's the
about
better way,
the national, to use the money that you're acquiring
Please, yes.
to support the issues politically that you are passionate about.
So who says we're not doing that though?
We're
We're doing that, but at the same time, I feel like the conversation still needs to be had from the standpoint of people understanding what other people are going through in this country.
And we've been having, for overwhelming part, a conversation about the national anthem, not about what people are going through, not any
That's
of
part
that.
of the problem,
It's
too.
been
I agree.
about the national anthem, just like we all just participated in here. It hasn't been effective, and that's not people trying to say you're wrong, don't be concerned. There are people like that have lived longer that are saying there's a better way, there's a more effective way. And again, and my overall perspective is just like, as long as we as black people, as long as our happiness is attached to how some random white person we don't know feels about us, we're going to be very unhappy for a very long time.
I think this whole thing, he has issues, you're media, you're a coach. I still can't figure out what coaches are supposed to do. I need the support of my player. Like, we always talk players, media. If I was a coach, I got an owner that doesn't want it. I got players that do. For coaches, where do you go? Where do you land on it?
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue. You saw it in Pittsburgh last year. They were trying to get a universal answer to this problem. And even the debate that we're having now, this is the issue, is it's hard to agree on politics. And it's hard to agree on political issues that so many people are passionate about. And what the NFL did is say, okay, this is going to be our policy. We have a policy, and now it's up to you to determine how you're going to enforce that club to club. And that at least gives you some clarity as an organization. From a coaching perspective, the Pittsburgh situation to me was extremely difficult. They tried to get something so that the group could be unified, but they couldn't, and it ended up being a huge distraction. And that's the difficulty with signing Eric Reed or Colin Kaepernick, is the distraction component of it to an organization.
Think about this. Politics, whether you're at the Thanksgiving dinner table, work, everywhere. Unless everybody agrees, politics are hard.
Yeah.
Couldn't I argue what the owners are saying is, fellas, you argue with family members on this. You're coming into my stadium, you're kneeling, it becomes political. It's not about the issue you think it is. What owners are basically saying is politics are hard. Our customers are turned off. We just don't want it for 3 hours I mean, look at us. We've had player, media, whatever I am, coach, and we all have different views. And I think we're all reasonable in our views. The media makes everybody believe now, well, politics is easy. It's easy when you're the Warriors and you're all anti the dude.
Yeah.
Or it's easy in Dallas at a bar when they're all banging on Obama. But mostly politics are hard.
Let's ask the $1 million question, put Cliff on the spot, put him on the spot. Do you think there'll be protests this season?
I do. I still believe guys will still protest and do what, if they truly believe it, if their core belief
During the
is that-
anthem.
yes. I think there'll still be guys that do it.
But this dynamic has changed now because there's the short-term ramifications where you now are costing your owner money, and that becomes a real.
Of course.
That becomes attractive to some players.
Okay, but okay, it may be in the short term, but then
Yeah.
you could be fined individually. So you have that aspect of it, and then you've got the long-term repercussions, which we're seeing with guys like Eric or guys like Colin, where teams are making that decision. Your skill set is not going to offset the distractions, and now they don't have a place to play.
Supremely talented, gifted players in their prime can do whatever they want. We know that.
Yep.
The marginal player who's good, not great,
Probably not going to stand for anything.
well, again, so you'll even have that. I think the Supers, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson can do whatever they want. Michael Bennett, by the way, was political. Philadelphia's like, we'll take him.
Yeah.
But I do think marginal players, it will be held against them. I really do.
I agree, but that's the league we're in. If you're a superstar player, that's why we need more of those guys to speak on it.
Right.
But if you're a superstar player, yes, your I guess leash in a sense is a little bit longer than other guys. They'll let you get away with more stuff. They'll let you talk on more things. But if you're in the middle of the pack or special teams guy, they're probably not going to put up with it, and they understand that too.
This time of year brings us two things: graduations and Father's Day, and the gifts that go along with them. Before you buy Dad another tie or that grad a balloon that will probably float away, ask yourself this: does my dad or grad like wings or sports, or better yet, both? If the answer is yes, then get them a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Right now, if you purchase $30 worth or more in-store or online, they'll give you a $5 bonus to keep for yourself. That's a gift that gives back. How generous of you. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. We're joined now by NBA champs Eddie House, Dante Jones. Let's move to the Western Conference Finals. That was crazy. Finally got a game last night, an all-timer. It evens the series with the Rockets coming back down 12 in the fourth to stun the Warriors and snap their record 16-game home playoff winning streak. After the game, Whitlock's buddy Mike D'Antoni very happy with his club's effort.
I thought this is the highest level we've ever played defensively, without a doubt, because you're talking about maybe the best offensive team ever, and they got a little tired in the fourth quarter, and that's because they felt us for 3 quarters. I felt like in the fourth quarter, we just ran out of gas. We scored 12 points. This game was sort of trench warfare. It was just everybody grinding it out, a lot of isolation. I guess this is the modern NBA.
Really understand this is a true playoff type experience, and it's not going to be easy against a great team like Houston. So we're up for it, though.
All right, you think the Warriors could actually lose the series?
No. I don't think anything happened last night other than Andre Iguodala didn't play. They didn't have their Hampton Fives lineup. They were a little bit off, and they lost the game. I thought that James Harden was effective offensively in the first half, then was garbage in the second half offensively. Chris Paul was great in the second half, but the rest of these guys, Eric Gordon, made 1 3, 1 of 8 from 3. Capella is a MIA in this series. Houston got lucky last night, and real lucky Steph missed that shot.
Well, I think here's the thing. Even last night within the game, there were 4 different games. Every quarter was decided by 9 points or more. First quarter, blowout Golden State. Second quarter, Houston dominates. Third quarter, Warriors dominate. Fourth quarter, Rockets dominate. This series is all over the map. The difference is, here's where nothing's changed. Golden State's still got more good players. Now, do I think it's a math equation? If I'm Golden State, I'd rather not have 2 of the next 3 on the road. But even within the game last night, you got 4 games. And my takeaway on this is I'll still take the dynasty and the 4 potential Hall of Famers over the 2 potential Hall of Famers. So I like Golden State still.
I like Houston if Andre Iguodala is not playing, because Andre is the big part of their team. He's their playmaker. He's their quarterback. He's their defensive juggernaut. They become a normal defensive team where you have one elite defender, and that guy has to chase around the best player. But with Andre, it gives them a different dynamic. You have Clay and Andre. So now, with all their switches, they can run pick and roll, and they can run different sets to get the switch and pick on the bad defensive guy now. More bad defensive guys to pick on. So defensively, they don't have that edge that they normally have. And then guys are not getting easy shots, and guys are not getting settled down, and guys are not getting positions to win without him on the floor, without his presence there, period. It's going to be a different series if he can't go out there and suit up and be able to help them on the court.
He was noticeable in the fourth quarter. It was noticeable they didn't have Andre Iguodala.
Smartest guy on the team.
To answer the question, do I think they will lose? They could, but they're not. They could lose. It's a possibility they could lose this series, but they're not. The thing is, will they have Houston played desperate last night.
Yes.
And you could see it in their defensive intensity, but they still gave up wide open shots as well as great of a defensive game that everybody thought they played. Golden State missed a lot of wide open shots. And in that fourth quarter, you look at it, they went 0 for 6 from 3, Golden State, 3 of 18. It's a make-miss league. That's what everybody says all the time, right? And that's what happened. Houston made their shots when Golden State didn't make their shots. Golden State turned the ball over 4 times in the fourth quarter. Houston took care of the basketball in the fourth quarter with only 1 turnover. My area of concern is, to hit on your point, Andre Iguodala, his health, but also Klay Thompson's health. He was a little gimpy there last night.
He didn't play well at all.
So we got to see if is he going to be healthy now. If those 2 guys aren't playing, now the tides have turned a little bit. The tables have turned. You don't have 4 guys out there. You have 3 scorers now. And Andre Iguodala, your defense, both of your best defensive players, they're not in the building. But they're not going to lose, I'm saying.
So part of the game you're playing in the playoffs too is health. Health is a big part. It's talent and rotations and adjustments. Health is a big part. And if you have Klay and Andre not up to par or possibly not participating, and Steph, who's still probably not healthy, but he's still out there having big quarters, that's going to be tough for them. I think Houston did a good job of weathering their storm. Their big third quarter team was a 17-point shift in that third quarter, and they didn't take good shots within that quarter. Houston just got up shots and let a quarter go by, but they weathered the storm and came back and fought.
I just don't think much happened last night. Iggy didn't play, and wake me up the next time Kevin Durant plays that bad in the fourth quarter in these playoffs.
The whole team, though. Nobody can make a shot. And they only made 3 shots
but ask
in the fourth quarter.
yourself this. We've seen this with the Cavs and the Celtics. The last game affects the next game's performance. The Warriors came off a 41-point win and led 12-0. Some of it was Houston called a timeout and, changed. I mean, the Warriors' last 4.5 quarters against Houston, they were crushing them.
If you were to tell me that Golden State went into the fourth quarter with a 10-point, you could basically book that. They were up 10 points going into the fourth quarter. You could book it. Golden State's going to win that game.
But the only team to beat them doing that was the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, but it's make or miss shots. And it was 2 opportunities. Klay had a shot in the corner late in the game, missed a wide-open shot.
Yep.
Steph had one on the wing, missed a wide-open shot. If either one of those shots go down, it's a tie game. And going into overtime, I'm taking Golden State all day, every day. Because Kevin Durant, and again, Kevin Durant, he deferred last night. He wasn't aggressive. I thought that last play, Steve Kerr was trying to call a timeout. Draymond was kind of trying to call a timeout. It was a few coaching blunders late in that game right there. Houston was up 3. D'Antoni didn't call a timeout. Okay, I got you.
All right, welcome back. Cliff Averill and Eric Mangini are back. Let's move to New England, where Bill Belichick refused to even mention Tom Brady's name yesterday when asked about the quarterback's absence from OTAs. But that didn't stop Patriots owner Robert Kraft from letting everyone know Brady's doing great.
I've been in communication with Tom, and I think he's very excited about the upcoming season. These are voluntary workouts, and I think he's in great shape. I can only say this. I know that he's very excited about being at minicamp and having a very special season this year.
All right, Cowherd, do you think Belichick is bothered by Kraft appearing to take Brady's side?
Well, I don't know if it's on this. I think collectively it would probably irk him a little that Tom wanted Garoppolo out. He's gone. Tom's missing OTAs. Kraft supports him. Kraft stepped in with Josh McDaniels and made him the highest paid coordinators. I don't know if there's an individual moment, but we got a little trend here where Kraft has aligned himself with things that appear to be Tom's purpose or Tom's want. That feels like it's obvious to me that Kraft's aligned more with, and by the way, he didn't for 18 years. It feels like Brady and Kraft are on the phone and aligning.
Brady is working out like a football field away from the Patriots' actual voluntary workouts. He's working out at TB12. Yeah. That's why Kraft knows he's in great shape, because I can go over there and look for myself. Look, I think Bob Kraft and Tom Brady are both irate with Bill Belichick.
Wow.
As well they should
Look
be.
at Mangini. He doesn't like that.
Over the Malcolm Butler decision. The Malcolm Butler decision was the dumbest thing in Super Bowl history. And Brady's mad about it. And so is Bob Kraft, and I don't blame him.
Bill's been saying the same thing since 1993 or 94 when he was in Cleveland. He doesn't talk about players that aren't at the facility. Like, that's what he said. So these comments are no different than what he said every single year. And if you open up the comments, you open up to one question, then it's 50 questions. In terms of him not being at at these voluntary workouts and him being close, typically what Bill would say is either you're in for the whole day or you're out for the whole day. So if Bill doesn't want Tom working out with someone outside of the program, and Tom decides to go work out at TB12, then he's out for the whole day. And at the end of this, Bill has an easy way to reinforce the discipline within the organization at a time period when it really doesn't matter. Tom's going to be fine if he misses the OTAs. He missed 4 games and he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns when he came back. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much value in Tom not being there in general.
Really?
No, I mean.
You're not a big OTA guy.
Exactly. I haven't been to OTA in 5 years, and I like to think I played at a decent level, right?
You got 5 Super Bowl rings?
I don't, but I got one.
You got one.
I got one, so hey, let's not take too many shots. I got one. But I wouldn't put value into that. I mean, Tom has a routine that he likes. He has a trainer that he likes. Okay, let him go do his thing. He's the GOAT. He clearly knows what it takes to win games. He clearly knows what it takes to win championships. So let that man do what he does.
Let me move you to a more exciting topic then, as it relates to Brady and Belichick. If you were Tom Brady or anybody on that Patriots team and Malcolm Butler was benched during that game without explanation, wouldn't you be upset?
I'd be mad. I'd be for sure. But at least I need to know why.
And he won't explain. He thinks it's okay.
Because he did. Look, he never has explained decisions that he's made. That's the way that he operates. Everybody knows the way that he operates, and to expect him to change at this point is unrealistic.
Isn't that what makes Belichick great? Bobby Knight won't change. He became a punchline. You got to change. Players have more power now.
Wait, now look, Bill has made major changes over the course of the year. He switched from a 34 defense to a 43 defense after 27 years of running that as a coordinator and a head coach. So he's willing to make wide-scale changes. I think on the issue of sharing information with the media, he's probably not going to change.
What about Brady and
probably
Kraft?
doesn't think that it's that important.
Brady and Kraft sharing the information about Malcolm Butler.
You don't think that Bill has shared the information with Robert Kraft?
But
I can promise you that has happened.
I bet he's talked to Brady too, though. I'm willing to say Brady has somewhat of an idea of why.
Okay, you were in that Seahawk locker room.
Yes.
You know what that interception Russell Wilson did to the locker room. You told me today on the radio show.
Yes.
It mattered.
It does matter. It definitely matters, and it can either take the team downhill,
which it did in Seattle,
which it seemed like it did for us, or it can go uphill. It just depends on. The communication and how Bill decides he wants to handle it.
But in Seattle, you had legendary coach, great quarterback.
Yes.
In New England, you have legendary coach, great quarterback. It is a Super Bowl late decision in both instances.
That's true.
In New England, you have 17 years of unprecedented team sports success.
Let me ask you this. If you were loyal to your wife for 17 years.
Thank you.
And then
exactly
she catches
my
you
point.
the next day, she forgets about the 17 years.
That's a very true statement.
But
Exactly where I was going.
that's a great comment, but it doesn't really relate to football. So it's a nice metaphor. Look, there are decisions that he's going to make that he's not going to explain to everybody else, and I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with it. Do I think Tom should be able to have his trainer at the facility so that he can go through workouts? Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. Do I think Tom should get concessions that other guys don't? Yeah, and it would be very easy to go in the locker room and say, look, when you become a 40-year-old MVP of the league and have the success that Tom has, you can have the same concessions. But Bill has his way of doing things. There has been flexibility in the past, and I don't think he's going to change.
I'm not encouraging in your 18th year of marriage that to happen, by the way. The Philadelphia, where it was just revealed that before the draft, the Eagles reportedly were offered a high second-round pick by the Cleveland Browns for Nick Foles, Whitlock's favorite quarterback ever, but declined after running the idea by Foles, who said, I'd rather be a backup than start for the Browns. Whitlock, who looks worse, Nick Foles or the Browns getting turned down by Foles?
Nick Foles to me.
Oh, no.
I'm going to go with Nick Foles because there's no way after being the MVP of the Super Bowl he should be playing anywhere where he's not making starters money.
Oh.
You have to strike when the time is right, and I would have demanded pay me like a starter or move me somewhere where they're willing to pay me as a starter. He should have went to Cleveland.
We always bang on athletes because they're all about money. Nick Foles it's not all about money. This is a great locker room with a great staff and no dysfunction.
And
I want to be right here.
I ain't gonna be on the field.
Listen, the best position on the football team is the backup quarterback position. You only have to make a few plays from time to time whenever they call on you, and you make a decent salary. I mean, they gave him a signing bonus of $2 million. They gave him a new deal. Being a backup quarterback isn't necessarily that bad for most guys. And
Don't you want to be on the field?
I'm a different player, though. I'm a different type of person. I'm a defensive player. Of course I want to be on the field. I can't be a defensive end backup for a career. Like,
we
you
also
get fired for that.
We also don't know what Cleveland offered. So they may have made the trade and said, we're going to keep you under the renegotiated deal that Philadelphia had. It may not have been, we're going to trade for you and then give you starters money. I think the other thing Nick looked at is Cleveland was going to draft a quarterback no matter what. So the second he got there, he was on the clock for whoever that number 1 overall draft pick was.
What'd they pay Tyrod Taylor?
Not a ton.
Or, maybe it's an existing contract. I don't know. If I'm Nick Foles, I want to be on the field. I want to be starting somewhere.
I think it takes real character to not just be about money. I like that. Nick Foles is like, I'm not about money. I love my team. I love the city. I love my guy. By the way,
we don't know that it wasn't about money, though. We don't know that Cleveland didn't say, you're going to play under that $2 million bonus you got in Cleveland.
Okay, ask yourself this. I make the argument that Nick Foles said, I may have the best offensive line in football.
Yeah.
Or go to Cleveland that just lost Joe Thomas. Part of it's just common sense. As an offensive lineman, you should appreciate that.
I'll just say this. Cleveland may not have been the right choice, but I haven't liked the way Nick Foles has handled the entire offseason. He should have demanded to be a starter. So you just were the MVP of the Super Bowl.
No,
You got your Super Bowl. You got a chance to go out and continue to play. He's going to be backing up Carson Wentz. Who wants to ride the bench when you could be starting somewhere?
Backup quarterbacks love to ride the bench.
And
Don't get hit.
You don't get hit and you get paid. I'm telling you, backup quarterback and being like a kicker or a punter is like the best two positions for longevity.
And he's a year away from potentially hitting the lotto. Next year, he can be a free agent, or the way the deal's set up, he gets paid $20 million by Philadelphia to stay there. So he sits there for another year. He knows this is a system he can win in. He knows this is a system that he can excel in. So why not wait it out another year and go hit a home run as opposed to a double in
or go to a
Cleveland?
non-dysfunctional team. How do you know that in Arizona, Bradford, Bradford leaves, and all of a sudden Nick
They just
Foles
drafted Josh Rosen.
Well, again, I'd rather back up in Arizona under Rosen than start for the Browns. You think I'm crazy?
Nah, it's not look, the Browns are bad, dysfunctional. And look, he could be sitting there saying, look, man, Hugh Jackson's fighting for his life. I could have a whole new coaching staff,
Of course.
whole new offensive system. So maybe this decision isn't as bad as I thought. But being a backup in Philadelphia is a mistake.
When I started this show 2 years ago, I would have had no idea that your favorite professional athlete would become Nick Foles.
It's not my favorite.
You have made him into Kevin Durant.
It's only when Carson Wentz isn't playing. It's just Philadelphia quarterback.
All right, welcome back. Dante Jones is back, joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Boston, where the Celtics host LeBron and the Cavs in Game 5 tonight. Boston rolled the Cavs in the first two at home, then hit a wall in Games 3 and 4. They were out of it 8 minutes in. It's been a familiar pattern for them in the playoffs. It's remarkable. Completely different team at home and away from home. Just one game with their shooting percentages. Look at those numbers. Fall off a cliff. Whitlock, you more confident in LeBron tonight or the Celtics' home court edge?
I'm more confident in LeBron James. I think that, again, I said it yesterday, they've let the monster out. And I don't think you're going to get him back in his cage until this is over. I think the kids had their fun. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, it was fun while it lasted. I think LeBron puts such a mental toll on you. He's smarter than you. He's more physical than you. He's more athletic than you, even at age 33, 34. It's been a nice little story. I expect Cleveland to win comfortably tonight.
Yeah, I wish I had that confidence. I have no idea. Vegas doesn't have any. Vegas is like 1 point spread. Vegas doesn't know. Young people and young teams are unpredictable. How do I know Boston's not going to be great at home again? They're winning by, what are they? 9-0 in the playoffs at home, winning by 11.5 a game. They may be great. Every time I watch them at home, they're great.
The facts are for the rest of the series, it's a 3-game series. You have LeBron James. You're probably the worst road team in the playoffs right now. And LeBron has won, one game on at an opposing arena, 25 consecutive Eastern Conference series. So do you have confidence that these Celtics can beat him 4 times in your building? No. Especially when he's figured out how to win in this series. And it's not an offensive end. It's not his scoring. It's not his assist making. It's his attention to detail on defense. I think he's put together some maybe great defensive games by just paying attention to his responsibilities and making energy and effort plays. He has to score. He's scoring 40 and 30. But what he is doing, he's leading his team on a defensive end by getting the loose balls, by rotating, by being in the right spot, by setting the tone defensively and being an example for his teammates. And after that, everybody follows, and they put together defensive shows of what their capability of doing, and that's winning games on the defensive end. And right now, once they keep that on both sides of the ball, they can be a little bit unstoppable. But once they put great defensive games together, then shots go in and guys have confidence in different areas, and you get all these different outputs by J.R. Smith, who when he scores over 10 points, they win. But he gets his confidence from defense. And Tristan right now doing a great job on Al Horford and switching on Smalls. Like that consistent defensive pressure is what's going to help them win at least one game in their building.
I got to disagree. And let's go to LeBron getting out of the cage, Whitlock. In Game 2, he had 42, 12, and 10, and they lost by double digits. This is a Cavs team that has been Jekyll and Hyde on the road, okay? We've seen them lay eggs in Boston, and I just feel like the Boston Celtics' identity is defense and playing at home. We got to protect home court. And they're going to go home tonight. You're going to see them lock up Kyle Korver. You're not going to see J.R. Smith get his 3-point shots. You're not going to see Kevin Love get loose. Brad Stevens, a week ago, Brad Stevens was the best coach in the NBA? And now he's chopped liver because they lose 2 games on the road? This is a team, guys, at home. The Cavs could not top 95 points in Boston. They go on the road. They score 116, 111. I love Boston at home. I take them tonight, even though they're a small underdog, right?
But you don't love Cleveland, right?
No, and
so you
but
think...
No. I take that back. I love LeBron in this spot.
Okay, but you don't love the Cavs roster because LeBron can't do it alone.
It's a different game now.
But he's not going to do it alone because LeBron, what Dante's talking about in terms of him giving energy to everybody else, that has been activated. I think the first 2 games, Boston on a high, and look, Brad Stevens is still a tremendous coach, and Boston's still a tremendous young team. But at some point, that youthful energy, LeBron extinguishes it, and now you need grown folks out there with him. You need Kyrie and Gordon Hayward out there with him. That's where the series is moving.
Did you think he did that in Game 2 when he had 21 points in the first quarter? You're like, oh, this is it. LeBron's got it.
But that blow he took and when he went off the floor, that was different. This is a different part of the series, and the length of a series sometimes can weigh on you. The first 2 games of the series was the energy and excitement of a new series. We're playing LeBron. We possibly go to the finals. Yeah, you won those 2 games, but then you went on the road and lost 2 tough games and got dogged, and then now you have to take that and try to create some energy at home. I think that is the length of this and the longevity of the series is what's going to wear a toll on a young team who have guys who don't have that past success to reach back onto and say, you know what, we can do this because we did this before.
Dante,
I think that helps.
Before we move on, did the Cavaliers approve this Boston outfit you have?
No kidding. Holy
heavy green
with the logo behind you.
All right, to the West, where the Rockets pulled out a close win last night, but there was some questionable decision-making by both teams down the stretch. First, Steve Kerr didn't take a timeout to set up a play down 2 with the clock winding down. Then Chris Paul made a free throw with just 0.5 seconds left, giving the Warriors a chance to set up one final play. Cowherd, what was the bigger blunder?
Chris Paul, it's math. He should know better. Let me defend the Warriors on this. So let's say you call a timeout, and the Rockets had been playing great defense on timeouts. Are you going to tell me on a timeout, when the Rockets can adjust, you're going to get an open shot? I want you to watch from a different angle. This is on Klay Thompson, not the coach. If you look at the sideline angle, there is no way in the world that Kevin Durant would have been this open outside of off a timeout. Look at him. He's wide open for a 3, and Klay Thompson didn't get the ball to him. You don't give Houston a chance to go and huddle. I mean, that is on Klay Thompson. This is Belichick's theory. I don't call timeouts late. I'll let you swim in chaos. Why would you give Houston, who had played great defense, a chance to go, okay, let's make some substitutions. Let's get our guys on. Let's double. Durant's wide open. Klay didn't get him the ball.
I'm going to be quick because we're tight on time. I agree with you. I think that Chris Paul and Mike D'Antoni and the entire team not knowing he should miss that free throw is an embarrassment, and it's why Houston, to me, can't win this series.
Ooh, I can understand why both happened. I think Chris Paul's is more of the questionable one. I'm on your side with Golden State not calling a timeout. I just think that Chris missing the first one put a little pressure on him, and if you miss the second one and you put the call in the ref's hands on how much time existed, and you could get screwed in some sort. So I see why he made it, because at the worst case, we go into overtime. If something happens miraculously, we lose this game. So at the worst, we have to play a 5-minute game.
Hold on. Steve Kerr, guys, totally butchered this, okay? You're telling me you just watched your players play the worst quarter in the fourth of all season. 3 for 18 from the field. They had 1 assist in the fourth quarter. That's not Warriors basketball. Colin, they got Steph Curry a shot with 0.5 of a second to potentially tie the game. You don't think with 4 or 5 seconds they could have got a better look than that? I think Kerr blew this totally, but I don't think it's going to ruin the Warriors for the series. I think they'll be able to bounce back.
I think you just made a hell of a point, because their offense was off the rails the entire quarter, and they did, when they only had a half second left, they got a good shot. So if you take a timeout with 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever, they probably could have got a better shot. I think you made a hell of a point. Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Pittsburgh, where Big Ben now says he wants to help rookie quarterback Mason Rudolph. Just a couple of weeks after openly questioning why the Steelers even drafted him. Cowherd, you buying what Big Ben is saying now?
None of these veteran quarterbacks want to help their replacement. I've never bought that, nor do I feel they have a responsibility to do it.
He's got a responsibility to be a mature leader,
yes,
and not some insecure guy that's worried about a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. Look, Big Ben shouldn't have run his mouth about retirement last year, and maybe they wouldn't have drafted Mason Rudolph.
That's a fair criticism, but I have no problem with these star quarterbacks getting chirpy with their organizations. Big Ben, his defense couldn't stop Blake Bortles twice last year. He should have been in the Super Bowl.
All right, to Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers just dismissed Jason Witten's suggestion that the Packers should sign Dez Bryant, saying, quote, I don't know why you'd cut Jordy Nelson and bring in Dez Bryant. Cowherd, do you think Dez will get signed before the season starts?
I do, but I love Aaron Rodgers like Big Ben having a strong opinion, because did you see Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers? They were the Browns. I love Brady pushing back. I love Big Ben pushing back, and I like Aaron Rodgers pushing back. I got marginal NBA guys holding teams hostage.
Dez Bryant, I'm not sure if he's going to sign before the season, because he wants a ton of money or good money. He still thinks of himself as an elite wide receiver. He lives in a bit of delusion. He's another guy that's got the talent to play in the league, but the distraction isn't worth it. He may not get another chance. All right, before we go, big congratulations to Fox's own Jeff Gordon, who was announced today as part of the 2019 class NASCAR Hall of Fame. Race Hub's got a big tribute to Jeff coming up. That's all next on FS1.
That's it for us. We're off tomorrow. We'll see you Friday. Congrats, Jeff.
Congrats, Jeff.